My husband and I had a surprise pregnancy that we were really excited about. And from the very beginning, doctors and then turned into specialists. We had a lot of appointments, and they all said, something's really wrong. Your baby is not going to live very long. And that was devastating news, very difficult. And I was scouring the scripture, looking for comfort and help. And of course, I was praying and saying, God, I know you can heal her, and I want you to. I'm begging you to heal her. And I really felt led to fast, because I knew that there were many stories in the Old Testament where people had fasted in a time when they really wanted to see God work. That's where I was. I was desperate for healing for my baby. And so one day I was reading Isaiah 58, and it just jumped out on the page at me, what God said to his people when he said, you're fasting, but you're doing it with the wrong motives. You're doing it for show. What I want with fasting is I want you to care for people and live your lives in a way that matters. And so there was a verse, Isaiah 58, verse 7. God said, I want you to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter. When you see the naked, to clothe them, and don't turn your back on your own flesh and blood. Then your light will break forth like the dawn, and your healing will quickly appear. So I read that, and that spoke to me that I could have healing, and in my mind it was for my baby. I want healing for my baby, and God, I'm willing to fast in these ways. And so I wrote those 4 areas down on a piece of paper and said, God, show me how I can feed the hungry, clothe people that need clothes, provide shelter for somebody, and what you want me to do to care for my family. And I will fast sacrificially in those ways, because I'm asking you for healing. God showed me some organizations that were already doing these things, and we fasted, and some friends fasted along with us, and we sacrificially cleaned out our closets and our towels and our linens and our pantries, and used our grocery money in sacrificial ways to fast and show God that this is what I'm seeking. I'm seeking healing for my baby. Please heal her. And so in doing that, I went to these organizations to drop off donations and talk to them about what they do and who they help and these populations that they serve. And what I learned is I had my eyes open to people all around me that hurt. They hurt in different ways, and I was not aware of that. But God softened my heart to that, and he opened my eyes to it, and it left a mark that won't go away for sure. He let me see that instead of comparing myself to my neighbors, my perspective now is how can I use what he's given me to bless somebody else? And I just want to be the instrument and the conduit for him to work through to bless somebody else. Well, in the end, I carried the baby full term, and she was born and was beautiful, but she did only live 2 days. And that's not what I asked God for. I was devastated. I was, full of grief and full of sorrow and full of sadness. But my friends who had been in this habit with me at this point of giving to these organizations and going and serving people with our time and our resources, they continued to do that, and they took me along with them. And so I went, and I was in a fog of grief at first, but over time that went away. And now as I look back, not quite a decade later, and I've known this for a while, that healing in Isaiah 58, that was for me. It wasn't that the grief of losing a child is really great. It's really hard. And it wasn't quick. It wasn't overnight, but God healed me by letting me see how he wanted me to live my life to please him and make it for his glory, and not about my beautiful family and what they look like. We were kind of a mess. And he, through this fasting that we said, we want you to be glorified in our story and in our lives. And he was. And then he also healed us. He healed me. And I'm certainly sad sometimes, but he has healed me. I'm not stuck in my grief, because he's let me see that I'm not the only one. There are many other people that need him too. And when we serve each other and we lift each other up, and we're a community together looking out for people who have needs that are great, he's healed me in a great way.